It was early, just before the sun touched the horizon. A lone traveler approached the small village. He was a fur trapper, a man named Joe LaBelle, and he knew this place well. He expected to see the first wisps of smoke rising from the chimneys. He expected to hear the low murmur of voices. This was a place of routine, a place of people he knew. But on this day, the air was still. The silence was not peaceful, it was heavy. It felt wrong. He rode closer. Not a single dog barked a welcome or a warning. The doors to the small huts and homes stood ajar, swinging slightly in the morning breeze. This was unusual. He called out a name, his voice sounding loud and out of place in the deep quiet. Only the wind answered him, a low moan from the empty spaces between the houses. He dismounted, his boots crunching on the frozen ground. He walked to the nearest home. Inside, everything was as it should be, and yet nothing was right. A pot of stew, scorched and blackened, sat over dead embers. On a rough-hewn table, a piece of bread was half sliced, the knife resting beside it. In the days that followed, others came. They searched with a slow, methodical dread. The most unsettling discovery was not what they found, but what they did not. There were no bodies, no sign of violence or a desperate struggle. It was as if every soul in the village had paused what they were doing, stood up in unison, and walked out into the world, leaving everything behind them. The mystery deepened when they looked for tracks. In this part of the world, the snow is a record keeper. It tells the story of every creature that passes. But here, the story was blank. There were no footprints leading away from the village, not a single trail, not a single mark of a sleigh or a cart, except for the tracks of the animals that remained. Even the animals that were left behind behaved strangely. The sled dogs were found tied to their posts. Some had starved to death, still tethered. No one from this village would ever abandon their dogs. They were partners, essential for survival. To leave them tied up was unthinkable. In the village graveyard, it was reported that at least one grave had been opened. The earth was disturbed, the stone marker cast aside. The body within was gone. The questions piled up. The silence of the village began to feel like an answer in itself, an answer no one could understand. As news of the empty village spread, more official investigators arrived. These were men of logic, men who believed in evidence and reason. They walked through the silent huts, taking notes and photographs. They documented the pots of food, the clothes laid out, the tools left mid-task. They were trained to find clues, to piece together a narrative from scattered details. But the details here did not form a coherent story. Reports from the time mentioned strange atmospheric phenomena. Other trappers and travelers spoke of an odd light in the sky that night. They described a large, pulsating glow, blue or green, that hung silently over the area. Some mentioned a low, persistent humming that seemed to vibrate through the ground. A few reported a strange metallic smell, like burnt electricity, that lingered for a day or so after. These witness accounts were often dismissed as folklore. Men of the law looked for more tangible evidence. They searched for signs of a disease but found no bodies to examine. They looked for signs of a mass migration but found no tracks and no packed belongings. People had left their money, their keepsakes, and even their warm winter coats. The investigators were left with a puzzle where all the pieces were present, but the most important one, the people, had been removed without disturbing anything else. It was a complete and total evacuation of people, but not of their possessions. Section 4. The official silence. The authorities were baffled. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police were said to have conducted an investigation, but finding official records has proven difficult. They documented the scene. They interviewed the few witnesses in the area. They came to no firm conclusion. In the public sphere, the event was labeled an unexplained relocation. Relocation suggests a planned, orderly move, but nothing about the scene suggested a plan. The word was a balm meant to soothe curiosity. There is nothing more to see here, even as the mystery screamed for attention. The silence from the authorities was as unsettling as the silence at the village itself. Over time, the lack of a clear explanation created a vacuum. Into this empty space, stories began to grow. The original 1930 newspaper article became the primary source, dramatic and difficult to verify. The tale of Lake Anjikuni took on a life of its own, separate from whatever facts may have existed. Without a definitive report to debunk the stranger claims, eerie lights, humming sounds, and desecrated graves became central to the narrative. The less that was said officially, the more people whispered unofficially. The void left by the facts was filled by imagination, and the legend grew stronger with each passing year. Some hoped the story would fade, forgotten in the vast, cold emptiness of the north. But they underestimated the power of a good mystery. Section 5. Theories born from the void. With no official answers, people began to invent their own. The theories ranged from the plausible to the fantastic. One terrestrial theory said the villagers were abducted. Perhaps a hostile group descended and took everyone by force. But where was the struggle? Why were there no bodies, no blood, no signs of a fight? And how could attackers and captives move without leaving a single track in the snow? Another set of theories looked to the earth, a release of toxic gas that disoriented or killed the villagers. But again, no bodies. Others proposed a localized, bizarre weather event, a sudden flash freeze, or a strange atmospheric vortex that spirited the people away. These ideas lacked any scientific precedent. They were attempts to explain the impossible with the improbable, grasping at straws in a storm of uncertainty. Then came the fringe. Aliens. Strange lights, a humming noise, a metallic smell, classic signs, some argued, of an extraterrestrial visit. In this version, a craft descended and, for reasons unknown, beamed the entire population aboard. Popular, yet without physical evidence. Finally, the supernatural. Cursed ground, an ancient spirit claiming the inhabitants, with the disturbed grave as proof. Like the alien theory, it required a leap of faith. All these theories, from the mundane to the extraordinary, were born from the same human need, the need to know why. Section 6. The erosion of a story. As the decades passed, another theory took hold. Less romantic, perhaps more likely. Skeptics and researchers began to pick apart the original story, returning to the 1930 report and finding inconsistencies. They noted the writer who broke the story was known for embellishment. Some photographs later associated with the event were taken elsewhere at different times. Historians digging through archives found little to corroborate the fantastic claims. Official police records of a massive investigation were sparse, if they existed at all. The population was said to be anywhere from 30 to several hundred, figures that no census could verify. Some argued it may have been a small, temporary hunting camp abandoned in an ordinary fashion. The story, they suggested, was not a mystery, but a myth, pulp fiction mistaken for fact. Skeptics pointed to a glaring flaw, reports of kayaks battered by waves, though Lake Anjikuni would have been frozen during the alleged winter disappearance. How could waves batter boats on a frozen lake? These contradictions eroded credibility. Perhaps it was a campfire story that got out of hand, printed, repeated, and raised to legend. For many, this is the most sensible explanation, and yet it does not satisfy everyone. Some hold on to the belief that something truly strange happened in the cold, quiet north. Section 7. The lingering question. So we are left with two possibilities. Either an entire village vanished without a trace, taken by some unknown force, or the story is a complete fabrication that has captivated us for nearly a century. Both possibilities are unsettling. One challenges our understanding of the physical world. The other, our ability to tell truth from a good story. Perhaps the truth lies in between. A small, unusual event magnified by rumor and time. The place itself offers no answers. The land has been reclaimed by nature. The wooden huts collapsed, timbers rotting back into the earth. The wind carries no secrets, only winter. The silence that Joe LaBelle found has become permanent. It is a place on a map and a place in our collective imagination, a symbol of the profound and the unexplained. The story endures because it touches a deep, primal fear, the fear of being erased. We look for clues and analyze the facts, but what we seek is reassurance, that the world operates by rules we understand. The tale of Lake Anjikuni suggests that sometimes it might not. It leaves a feeling of unease, a chill that has nothing to do with the cold. What could make hundreds of people in the middle of their ordinary lives simply disappear, leaving everything behind without a struggle and without a single footprint in the snow?